Absolutely incredible to be here with you all. Fantastic to see you all. We really wanted to start our talk about coexistence this evening to tell you about this incredible bull called Anwar. He's a gentle giant that we both know very well from Samburu, which is in northern Kenya. He lives practically with us in the research camp. He's a very sweet-natured, but sometimes incredibly naughty elephant. He seems to like to do this to our research cars. And we can't quite work out why, but I think he feels quite familiar with us. We still love him for it, even though he's caused a little bit of damage. For over 1.5 million years, these incredible, largest of all land mammals have walked this planet, including Anwar and his families. They are some of the most complex and wonderful creatures. They take care of each other. They have over 100 vocalizations that they use to reassure each other, to challenge each other, to compete with each other, and to help each other find food and resources. We have the privilege of working with these animals both in Samburu and down in Tsavo in Kenya, and we support over 100 partners through the Elephant Crisis Fund. Sadly, the planet around them and around us is really starting to crumble. We've heard so much about this evening. I mean, this summer alone, we've all experienced unprecedented wildfires, temperatures that have rocketed. We've had droughts and floods all at the same time, all in the same countries. And we've been really struggling in Kenya as well with a 2.5-year drought. We've started to really unbalance nature, and we've triggered the start of a new extinction crisis. We're seeing species disappear 10 times faster than during the time of humans, than before the time of humans. And biodiversity is at the heart of this challenge, but also at the heart of the solution, particularly for the carbon solution. It's our forest, soils, and oceans that we all need to support if we're going to start looking after our species. Elephants are at the heart of this story for Africa. Without elephants, our savannas would just be transformed. One thing that they're super important for is some of the tree species that need to pass through an elephant's gut, they need to be planted in a dump of elephant dung for it to grow. And some of these species are really important trees that sink our carbon, which is why we really must increase our efforts to protect these critical habitat species, not just for elephants as a keystone species, but for all of the other creatures that live in the same habitats as elephants. The importance of these animals cannot be overstated, but they can also be quite a challenge to live with. If you come face to face with a 7-ton bull elephant like this, when you're on foot or in the dark, it could be quite a different emotional response. They can actually be pretty terrifying. So even our friend Anwar, who we love dearly, can be pretty scary in the dark. This was Anwar, not very long ago, discovering and being very cross with a new compound that popped up in his usual feeding area. You can imagine that the people were not very happy about that. Across Africa, there is no question that we're seeing an exponential growth in the human population. This is simply a fact, and one of the most important things to realize about this is this change in population has happened in all of our countries as well, in North America, in Europe. Africa is simply going through its development phase. What we need to do is hold together and look after the land and the elephants while this exponential population growth is happening. And we need to protect and help the communities during this phase. All the models are predicting that our populations are going to level out. And there are these sustainable development goals for 2030, which are helping us get there. Even if we miss them slightly, we're on track. We should end up with a more stabilized human population and elephant population. But in the meantime, we have an enormous task to preserve the habitats these elephants are living in and their corridors. And of course, the communities who need so much help in this development phase. So even if you love elephants, as we all do, and I know you do as well, your affection can quickly turn sour if your entire night's crop is damaged in just a matter of hours, or even your loved ones are killed or injured, which sadly is also happening in Africa. At Save the Elephants, we're deeply committed to finding long-lasting, sustainable solutions to living together with elephants for the decades to come. And if we don't, then the future for both ourselves and the elephants would look pretty grim. This is our absolute priority looking forward. Luckily, there are people who know all about coexistence, and some of them have been honored at the very highest level by some of the most important people like Prince William, and I'm so proud to introduce you to my special friend, our special colleague, and the head of the Samburu program for us at Save the Elephants, and Tusk Award nominee, David Dablan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lucy. As some of you may guess, I come from a nomadic group called the Samburus, who've lived alongside elephants, buffaloes, as well as many other wildlife species for generations, in fact, since time began. We are pastoralists, a nomadic group who live off from milk, blood, and meat from our livestock, because we don't eat, we don't use wildlife products, because that will be, in our culture, that will be like eating your own ancestors. And it's a taboo. So, and many of our clans are actually descended from different wildlife species that we've mentioned here before. That sort of coexistence has made Samburu one of the best places to study elephants. Elephants seem to trust us and let us come close and study them. For the last 20 years, that's how I spent most of my time doing from our research camp. However, not all is positive, in that in the past we've seen a terrible slaughter of elephants due to greed for their task, a terrible imbalance, value on ivory that overcome cultural barriers. Therefore, poaching was terrible in that we've seen so many elephants that we've spent so much time being slaughtered. However, the Samburus, Save the Elephant, we've actually joined hands with local communities, local NGOs across Kenya, across Africa, across the world, national governments, and passionate people like yourselves. And we want this. China banned trade in ivory at the start of 2018. I want to tell you that last year, 2022, we have seen for the first time, we've recorded 0 poaching in Samburu National Reserve. And I think this is something that we should all be proud of, and because I feel that we're all part of this success, and that was a big thing. But we have a new challenge, and this is a challenge of changing of lifestyle. For the last 20 years, we've seen things changing in Samburu. Traditional lifestyles are fading. Life is less about existence, and it's more about making a living. We have to make sure that local communities need elephants around them, and that means they have to benefit, and not suffer losses. Thankfully, we have a plan, or we have something to that we've been working on. And my colleague, without further ado, a friend, Lucy King, will take us through what this plan is, because I'm sure most of us will be very anxious about what is this plan. Without further ado, Lucy, karibu.
Thank you, David. And I mean, it really is incredible that we've got to 0 poaching in Samburu National Reserve. It's really due to the people like David and his colleagues, our network of partners, the communities, the rangers, the game reserves, but also the international community. Congratulations. It's been amazing. We just need to keep it that way. And the reality is that human-elephant conflict is the next challenge that we have for the next decade, and probably much longer than that. As David mentioned earlier, we have some really good, solid solutions that we've been working on and that we're really starting to spread around Kenya and around the rest of the continent. One of the main solutions is that we speak to many, many countries all at once. So what we work on in Kenya often can be scaled to other parts of the continent. For example, in the north where David lives, we've deployed multiple rapid response units, which are trained guys, often on the back of motorbikes, because they're cheap, they can get into the rural areas very fast, and they respond very fast to incidents of conflict, whether it's a smashed water tank, whether it's a broken down house where elephants have ripped the roof off to reach food inside. These teams will arrive very fast, calm everyone down, and find solutions, rebuild the water tank, rebuild the walls, help the community find some food for the next few weeks. It's very, very important to be there on the spot. And we're trying to get more and more rapid response units out there over the next year. We've also, just like the Mama Simbas, we've been engaging the Mama Tembos, which are elephant mothers, these wonderful women. We've doubled the number of these wonderful women who've been helping us protect the corridors in northern Kenya. We're now protecting 6 elephant corridors with these incredible, powerful, beautiful women. And it's not just for elephants, it's actually for protecting the corridors for their livestock as well. So we're just keeping these routes between the rivers and the foraging grounds open and stopping people just plonking a supermarket in the middle of it or putting one house. And there are some very powerful people, as you know, in Africa who can just take over these corridors. So a collective of strong women can have quite a lot of impact on protecting these corridors. One of the other really exciting projects that we've been working on for 3.5 years now is this new book that we've created. It's called the Human Elephant Coexistence Toolbox. We've got a few copies outside. You might have been able to see one. We've just launched the 2nd edition of this 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago. And this is a collaboration of all of our partners across the continent. We've so far got it into the hands of 350 people and project partners in 54 countries. That's not just the elephant range. Those are all the countries like China, Japan, America, Europe, people who have influence as well. And we are really working on getting these methods into the hands of people that really need them. So there's over 200 pages. There's over 100 methods of how to live with elephants. Our beehive fences are just 4 pages in this 200-page book. And we are now doing 3-day training workshops in the field, in my Savo camp down here, where we bring people in for an intensive course, both classroom and field work, showing them how to build, make, showing them how to learn all about these different methods. It's been translated into 3 languages. We have 3 African languages starting next month. So farmers, there are farmers that are really good examples of people who've taken up the toolbox. This is Jonas Mwakima. We work with him in Kajiri village in Savo. He was one of our beehive fence farmers, and then he got really excited about all these other methods. So he now has about 5 or 6 methods just around his farm, from watchtowers to chilies to noise guns. He invented his own noise gun because he saw all of these ideas. So like, I can come up with my own plan. So we were so thrilled that we put his noise gun into the toolbox. And so he's now an author, and he takes great pride, and he's joined our team of trainers as well. So now he hosts people onto his farm and inspires the next generation of youth and his communities. So getting this toolbox into the hands of people, communities, is very, very important. And it's also getting into the hands of governments and departments across the continent, particularly through our Elephant Crisis Fund network. And what we really want to do is just give ourselves hope that if we all pull together, we can find solutions to these really wicked problems. We did it for stopping the ivory trade, and although it's not completely stopped, we have reduced it in Kenya to a really manageable level. We still have challenges in parts of Africa, West Africa and Central Africa particularly, where we're trying our best to support those projects as hard as we can and get the toolbox in for balancing the anti-poaching work and our coexistence work. So some of our heroes, like Ian Douglas Hamilton, has worked his whole life to keep this under wraps, and the battle is not done, but we're getting there, and that's what's so important. So thank you for helping us find these tools. We really need to get these into the hands not only of our communities, but in particular, I'm passionate about getting into the hands of women and these incredible women across Africa who we're working with and all the different enterprise groups that we're supporting, whether they're looking after cattle, whether they're weaving amazing baskets to provide alternative income, processing honey, selling elephant-friendly honey to different communities, or whether it's the collective cooperative groups that we're supporting, where we get groups of women together to create multiple enterprises. It creates a much more powerful market force if we can get women working together and helping them. So we just want to thank you all so much for your support. We are so proud and grateful to be here in our 30th anniversary year, and we hope we've got 30 more years ahead of us, trying to help elephants, and in particular, working for these really challenging problems of coexistence. But we really think we're on the right track, and we hope together you're going to join us. Please come and visit us in the field. Thank you so much. Thanks.